As I look around this year, I have noticed less Christmas decorations than normal, and fewer of us seem to have the joy and expectancy that come with Christmas. In all of this, I was reminded of a story I heard a few years ago about a man named Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Henry was a very famous poet in the time of the 1800s, around the period of the Civil War. His poetry was said to inspire many. However, one day something very tragic happened to Henry and his family. His beloved wife and the mother of their 5 children was killed in a fire that also wounded and scarred Henry. It was said that he was so badly injured from trying to save his beloved wife that he was unable to even attend her funeral. After her sudden death, Henry was left to raise their 5 children alone during a time when war and unrest ruled and divided the nation. During a 2-year period, Henry's grief was so deep that he laid down his pen and chose to never write again. As if his grief and sorrow could not get any worse, his eldest son went off to fight in the Civil War, leaving Henry with the constant fear of losing him as well. As this story continues, Henry's eldest son was badly wounded and sent home for Henry to care for him. He was near death and thought to be paralyzed, just a short time before Christmas. The story is told that as Henry sat in his home on Christmas Eve, his heart heavy, he heard the Christmas bells from a nearby church begin to ring, calling in peace on earth and goodwill to all men. As Henry heard this, he picked up his pen for the first time in 2 years, and he began to write what is known as a famous hymn that would be known to this day across the world. This poem broke through Henry's heartache and began to restore his own hope after so much tragedy and loss in his family. It helped him to heal his personal perspective and restore his hope in God. I would like to read the words of this famous poem that Henry wrote called "I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day." I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and mild and sweet their songs repeat, of peace on earth and goodwill to men, and the bells are ringing, like a choir they're singing. In my heart I hear them, peace on earth, goodwill to men. And in my despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to men. But the bells are ringing, like a choir they're singing. Does anybody hear them? Peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then the bells rang more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor does he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill to men. Then ringing, singing on their way, the world revolved from night to day. A voice, a chime, chant sublime of peace on earth and goodwill to men. Wow. The words of this hymn and Longfellow's story left me thinking about my own heart and how in many ways I had lost perspective this Christmas season. I too had forgotten through loss and grief that affects us all, through disappointments, things not going maybe the way I had planned. It can be so easy to focus on all that and all the wrong in the world and the heartache that we see and experience. However, because of Christmas, we have an eternal hope that will overcome the heartbreak we suffer here. Hope prevails. Just like Longfellow, who heard the bells that Christmas Day so long ago, we too can choose to look past the grief and the misfortunes and look to the one that renews us all with his love. Luke chapter 2 tells of the love coming from heaven to earth, bringing with him hope. It says, "Do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good news and great joy, which shall be for all people. For For today in the city of David, there has been born for you a Savior who is Christ the Lord. Wow, aren't you glad to know that your God is not dead? He does not sleep. He has everything in control. We can have rest in His peace. Do not let this Christmas Eve pass without stopping and pausing and giving thanks for that hope. Take time to talk to the Savior who came so that we might be blessed with peace, joy, and righteousness in our lives today. Not our own, but His, from Him. Even if our world is crumbling around us, we can take comfort in knowing that all is well with our soul because He is our hope. I'm reminded that God uses the ashes in our lives, just like He did with Longfellow so many years ago, to bring us back to see ourselves and others through Himself. After all, isn't that what Christmas is all about? Peace on earth? I know that each of us can look and see the pain and the loss and the disappointments this year. It surrounds us in the same way it did Henry those many years ago. But like Henry, I am reminded that I have a choice to look past the pain and see God, a Redeemer that was sent into this world to bring peace and hope in our hearts. Jesus is still the gift that is given to us. Here at IFOC, we just want to wish you a very Merry Christmas full of joy and peace. And we just give thanks that our God is not dead, and nor does He sleep.